So a lot of times we have chords that we already know. So you already know the C chord, the F chord in inversion 2, and the G7 chord, right, in inversion 1. Here you actually seeing them written with notes. So that you're getting used to, those of you who don't really read bass clef, you could see that the first note is C. So yeah. And instead of playing all three notes down together like a block chord, this style is called, I call it umcha. Some books would call it waltz, but it sounds like this: C and then E and G together, thumb and middle together. So you got only C chord for all of those. So that would be easier, right? But still, do practice. So some people cannot get these two together, so that's a technique. You just have to practice a part. Don't even look at this song and practice until your hand is leaning. Perhaps your 3 is too standing, and it makes it even longer, or your thumb is short, even though it's coming from the wrist, because the thumb has 3 bones. 1 bone here inside the hand, 2 and 3, just like all the other fingers, but we don't know it. So sometimes we think about moving the thumb, but only from here. Always think about moving your thumb, if it's playing by itself, from the wrist. That's a technique. But anyways, those 2 fingers are not the same size, so sometimes to get them together you have to flatten down a tiny bit your dome, right? You a little bit flatter, so that you have more of a chance. And when I play, I lean a tiny bit towards the thumb, and then I find that, oh yeah, so for my hand, this is the curve I need to feel that these 2 can go together. And notice that I do this kind of rotation. Rotation is like you have a doorknob and you're opening the doorknob. That's the motion from your elbow. Sometimes it goes all the way up to your shoulders. If it's like a very, very loud thing, you'll be shaking from your shoulder. But this is the gentle rotation just to help you. So don't do it. If you're able to do this and they fall together, make sure that the sound is together. So the first thing I would say is elongate a little bit your 3. Don't hold it too high. And then lean slightly your hand towards, like in the rotation, but that's very slight. I'm doing it so slight you don't really see me doing the whole rotation. Okay, so that's a very hard technique to get. So you do need to practice that outside of the song. Whether it's that C chord or the G7 chord, the same thing. And G7 would be easier just because the 2 is right next to the 1 and it's shorter than the 3 for most people. Again, but I do play that like this with a slight little rotation. I'll advance my hand so you could see my wrist, and not like this. Right? If I show you the side view, you could see then. How about we just do the side view by itself so you could see. So and not because then I'm playing with my wrist. So I'm playing around with rotation. And then B would be, and again you could see my forearm is rotating. and it's not finger straight down or wrist, right? I just stay on the keys and I rotate back and forth a tiny bit. In fact, you could do that silently and see then if you could maintain that gesture, but less. Same thing with the F. So you could see that my gesture is still a rotation. And my wrist needs to be completely relaxed, because if it was stiff, it would be very hard for me to adjust. So I'm adjusting a little bit the length of the fingers. And so this is the technique for Cha that should be practiced for all of your chords, whether you are talking about C chord or F chord or the G7 chord. And what you saw on the music that we use as an example, Que sera sera, is those chords written out. And that's how you recognize them. The C, which is the first, almost the entire line. And then we recognize the G7 very well because they always have these side-by-side notes. And since it's a low beginner, you know that you're only dealing with those first. So every time you see side-by-side notes, you go, oh yeah, that's that G7 again, right? And then when you see the note on top being a line note, then that's an F chord, because the line note on top there is an A. That means that your thumb would have to be on A, and that's the F chord. So that's how you identify all the F chord. And of course, you could use highlighters like I'm doing right now. But eventually, what I'm hoping that your eyes will get used to is don't rely on your highlighters too much, and just do, you know, your eyes are looking for certain shapes. You're looking for side-by-side notes, that's G7. You're looking for the top note being on a line, that's your F chord. And if all your notes are on space, like space notes, that's your C chord right there. All these notes are on space because they're only skips apart. C, E, G. But down here. And then you start recognizing your chords without the chord symbols on top given to you. So those are exercises I would strongly recommend for my low intermediate. One more thing is C7. So what is the theory? Your C chord, everybody knows, to find that seventh note, it's 3 half steps up from the top, from the fifth note of your chord. 1, 2, 3. You can find any chord seventh that way. You just play the major chord first. In this case, it's a C. Then count from the fifth note of the chord, 3 half steps. 1, 2, 3. And that's the seventh. But you don't have to worry about playing the actual seventh, because it's already, that B flat is already in your right hand melody. Right there. So since that seventh is already in your melody, you can play just a simple C chord down there, and it'll be fine. That is why that's how I wrote it. It's a low intermediate class. Okay. Any other chords? No, just F, G7, or C in this song. So this is like a perfect song for low intermediate to start using other styles, the Umja style. But I would practice this technique a lot just to get your two fingers together.